We are officially halfway through the year of 2024. Now, I'm not going to say that this has been a weak year for video games, because it really hasn't, but it hasn't particularly been like a crazy year for games either. I mean, we got games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Tekken 8, Stellar Blade, and Helldivers 2, just to name a few, which are absolute bangers. Some of them are even masterpieces, I'd call, but I don't feel like we've been getting too many masterpieces. Not that that's a bad thing, we did just come off of the insanity that was 2023, so it's fine. I'm saying all this though because when a year really starts to ramp up its releases is towards the end of the year, and 2024 is no different. We are looking at a very promising next 6 months of the year, so I am here because it is that time of year to give you my most anticipated games for the rest of the year. These games have to have at least a window of 2024, and they need to be confirmed for this year. Also, I will be very picky about the remakes and remasters that are allowed on the list. Remasters are typically not allowed on lists like this, but remakes are, just as long as they seem different enough. Anyways, without further ado, let's count down my top 10 most anticipated games for the rest of 2024. Hi guys, DPX here. Let's get into this. But before we get started, you know what to do. You should like to subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, or I will lock you up in the dungeon.
I wanted to give to you, in the last part of your notes here, the significance spiritually of the number 10 in the Bible.
Want to know a fun fact? I made a list back in January of my most anticipated games of the year. And as I said earlier, I usually revise the list in July, hence what I'm doing right now. But the crazy thing is, every single game on the January list is already out. All of them except for one. And that's Massive's new open world Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws. Despite what Ubisoft might be telling you, Star Wars Outlaws isn't actually the first open world Star Wars game, but in terms of open sandbox games, I think this might be the first. It also seems different from your usual Star Wars game. Instead of playing as a Jedi or whatnot, you play as a Han Solo-esque bounty hunter named Kay Vess, with stealth mechanics and combat that seems interesting. Throw that in with a crime system similar to GTA, and I'm shockingly excited for a new Ubisoft game. Now, as I mentioned, this game was on my January list and is the only one from that list to be here, so by default it should be very high, so why does it barely make this list? Well, I'll just say Ubisoft are being very Ubisoft about this and its release. You know what I mean? With like the very pricey editions and the one mission that's exclusive to like the $130 version. That's fucking dumb. But otherwise, I'm hyped for Star Wars Outlaws as it comes out for the PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on August 30th. So I guess this could be a quick remake round. What I'll do is briefly mention some remakes that I'm looking forward to for the rest of the year, but only one actually makes the list, because I think it's a little iffy including remakes. Silent Hill 2 has a lot of people worried, specifically as it's being developed by Bloober Team, who don't really have the best track record, but I'm more excited for the game than I feel like most people are. Sonic X Shadow Generations has me way more excited for a Sonic remake or remaster than I thought I ever could be. I mean, like, the shadow levels look sick, but it does seem like a remaster just with added content. So maybe it is a remake? I don't know, a little tricky. Epic Mickey Rebrushed is a game that I'm just happy is going out of its way to re-release Epic Mickey. Same goes with Lollipop Chainsaw, except that's a game I've never played before. All of those are honorable mentions, but the remake I chose for this is, shockingly enough to me, Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Yeah, what a fucking dumb name. Title aside though, you can tell Square really took their time with this one, as it looks amazing. Many people seem to be getting sick of the HD 2D art style, but for me personally, I say keep them coming. It also sounds like they've remixed a lot of the original music with orchestral versions, and also, I've never played the original Dragon Quest III or Dragon Warrior 3, but I'm a big fan of Square Enix, big fan of old RPGs, and a big fan of the HD 2D art style, so I'm excited to play Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake as it releases for Switch, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on November 14th.
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
One thing I noticed that I don't really hear anyone talking about is that Atlus is having a pretty solid year. I mean, we got a banger of a remake in Persona 3 Reload, we got Unicorn Overlord, which I have yet to play, but have heard great things about. And now we're getting an all-new IP from them called Metaphor ReFantazio, or ReFantazio, or however you say it. I'll be going with the first one, ReFantazio. In Metaphor ReFantazio, party members transform into their jobs, which the game calls archetypes, which you use in battle. With the archetypes in the game, it seems to be touching on subjects like anxiety and whatnot, and incorporating it into the combat. And there are going to be a total of 40 archetypes in the game. Now that's after hearing the developers talk about what's in the game, but watching the trailers, the game seems to be awesome. An intriguing story, engaging looking combat, and just a really cool concept for a game. I cannot wait to play Metaphor ReFantazio as it launches for PS4, PS5, PC, and Xbox Series, including Game Pass on day 1 on October 11th.
36.
Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
7.
PS1 had Crash Bandicoot. The PS2 had Jak and Daxter. The PS3 had Sackboy. The PS4 had fucking Knack. I always thought the PS5 could have had Astro as its mascot, but Sony never really took advantage of that. At least not until recently with the upcoming Astrobot. Although I love games like The Last of Us, God of War, Uncharted, Horizon, and Ghost of Tsushima, Astrobot seems to be a nice refresh and change of pace from the dark, story-driven, serious single-player games. Not that those are bad, but, you know, adding some variety. Astrobot seems to be a love letter to the history of PlayStation, kinda like the PS5 launch title Astro's Playroom, except with a much bigger budget and on a bigger scale. I mean, you can use the PS5 controller as a plane, and the PS5 itself is a giant spaceship. How cool is that? That alone gets me excited. I cannot wait to play Astrobot as it drops as a PS5 exclusive on September 6th.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score?
6.
Woo! A few years back, Obsidian made The Outer Worlds, a game that seemed like their take on Fallout. Now, they are working on what seems to be their take on Elder Scrolls with Avowed. People weren't always sold on this game, but I always thought it looked awesome. I think the visual style is very unique, and the combat and abilities seem interesting too. There are also a lot of different characters in the game that seem interesting, and an intriguing story that I'd like to know more about. Not to mention, there is a lot of customization options with the weapons. You can use a sword and shield, magic wand, a gun, a spear, other magic abilities, and just so much more options. Not to mention, with word that Avowed is going to be similar in length to Outer Worlds, it seems like we'll have a fairly lengthy title on our hands. I'm excited for Avowed as it comes out for Xbox Series and PC along with day 1 on Game Pass. Well, I'm not sure if this is 100% confirmed, but it seems all but confirmed to be coming out on November 12th.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I've grown a soft spot over the years for Square Enix and their RPGs. I love Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Live Alive, and I'm going to start getting into Dragon Quest with the new remake. But one series that has been dormant for some time now is the Mana series. I honestly never even thought there was a possibility that it would ever come back. Like, not even me even wishing for it to come back. I just thought the series was just not ever going to come back, and I just did not even give it much thought. But lo and behold, it's coming back very soon with Visions of Mana. I don't see too many people talking about this one, but it looks amazing. Possibly even a Game of the Year contender. Going off of the trailers, the game visually looks amazing. It's bright and colorful and looks huge, and the combat looks great too. I know a lot of people took issue with Final Fantasy going more the route of action RPG as opposed to turn-based, which I get the complaint, and it seems that Visions of Mana is doing the same thing. But I still think it looks great. I cannot wait for Visions of Mana as it releases for PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on August 29th, which, if you remember, is just one day before Star Wars Outlaws. Wonderful. I've gone on record many times to say that I never really got into anime. That is not including Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball as a whole is iconic, and one thing this IP actually has a very good track record of is video game adaptations. And later this year, the well-beloved Budokai Tenkaichi series comes back with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Talk about returning with a bang. Sparking Zero is looking packed, with a gigantic roster of characters confirmed to eventually total to over 164. All throughout the history of Dragon Ball. Not to mention, the story consists of what-if scenarios, being very intriguing already. On top of all of that, the gameplay is looking as flashy as Dragon Ball can get. I am stoked for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero as it releases on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on October 11th. Same day as Metaphor. That Nintendo Direct that at the time of this video happened like a few weeks ago and had a lot of great announcements, with one maybe coming up soon. But yeah, with everything that was announced there, it's easy to forget one game that was there that many people thought looked bad and never thought about it again, and that was a game called Funko Fusion. And I get it, for most of you, that was the first you've ever heard of it, and it looks hella rough on the Switch, but don't let that deter you, as it's coming out for other consoles as well, and it looks amazing. Take the concept of a game like LEGO Dimensions, but take away the Toys to Life aspect, and also make it about Pops instead of Legos. You get Funko Fusion. I feel like I should not be excited for this game at all, but the trailers of not the Switch version really won me over. And it's crossing over so many franchises: Jurassic Park, Jaws, Back to the Future, Invincible, Five Nights at Freddy's, Masters of the Universe, Chucky, The Walking Dead, The Mummy, Megan, Battlestar Galactica, Scott Pilgrim, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Umbrella Academy, The Thing, and so much more. If this isn't your cup of tea, I get it. Not everyone loves Funkos, and not everyone loves these kinds of games. But if your only hang-up with Funko Fusion is that you only saw the Switch version at the Nintendo Direct, and it looks bad, which the Switch version does look bad, I'd say give it another look. Believe it or not, this was actually going to be my number one, but I think the two games higher are going to be better games. Either way, I can't wait for Funko Fusion as it launches for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC on September 13th.
Pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
The Nintendo Switch is on its way out. We all know that. But unlike most Nintendo consoles in their final years, the Switch is getting quite a good amount of support from Nintendo. Case in point, we are getting a brand new Zelda game later this year with The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. It's the first 2D or top-down Zelda game since the Link's Awakening remake. But as for brand new 2D or top-down Zelda games, the first since Link Between Worlds, which was like over 10 years ago. And even more exciting, this is the first mainline Zelda game where you actually play as Zelda, and no other such games exist. And maybe there was some worry with Zelda playing just like how Link does, but now it's Zelda. But that's not what's happening here. Zelda isn't using a sword, she uses magic. Particularly a cloning ability, or echoing, to clone certain objects to solve certain puzzles, or even cloning certain enemies to help them fight aside you. I'm excited for Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom as it releases for Nintendo Switch on September 26. And before we get to number 1, and even before the honorable mentions, there is a, I guess, pseudo-honorable mention I want to briefly touch on, and that's Dragon Age The Veilguard. I originally had this game very high on this list, but I let the negative reaction to the game set in, and yeah, the art style looks terrible, and the game overall is just a little worrying. I still think the gameplay looks amazing, but I'll have to wait for more on this game before it can get higher on this list. But I'm still, you know, I still really want to play it. So I guess it's an honorable mention that I wanted to talk about it. Now, here are the honorable mentions.
Luigi, number 1.
Talk about a game that was not on my 2024 bingo card. Going in, I really did not think that Machine Games' new Indiana Jones game was gonna come out this year. But very early on in the year, we've gotten a lot of new footage, and we've been getting a lot of new footage recently, and now I'm absolutely stoked for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. First things first, yes, it's in first person, when many people would have preferred it to be in third person. I get it, but personally, had it been in third person, this game maybe would have ended up being a little too similar to Uncharted or Tomb Raider. Aside from that, this looks like everything you would want out of an indie game. Indie as in like Indiana Jones, not like independent. I think you knew that, I just wanted to specify. Visually, the game looks like it could possibly be next level. The combat looks amazing too with the whip. It just looks like it'll be a lot of fun to use. The cutscenes look cinematic enough and they look really good. And just by looking at the trailers, Troy Baker seems to be doing such a great job playing Indy that you could be excused for thinking that that is Harrison Ford doing the voice. I cannot wait to play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle as it releases for Xbox Series and PC, including day one on Game Pass sometime this year. And that is my top 10 most anticipated games for the rest of 2024. I know for some reason, this one was hard. Even though there's not like a crazy amount, but there was just a lot that I had to exclude, like Mario Party and Mario and Luigi, Stalker 2, The Plucky Squire, are all games I'm really looking forward to and cannot wait to play, but they just didn't make the list. What do you guys think? What are your most anticipated games for the rest of the year? Was there any that I left out that you're interested in? Let me know down below. Anyways, if you like this video, come subscribe or I will lock you up in the dungeon.